Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Showcase series presented by IoT for all, the number one publication and resource for the Internet of Things. I'm your host, Ryan Chacon. If you are watching this on YouTube, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel if you have not already done so. All right, on today's episode, we have two guests. We have Stuart Gavurin, the co-founder and CEO of OpSense. They are a IoT platform built for food safety and quality monitoring for retail and food service industries. And then Sean Ferris, the corporate food safety and regulatory compliance specialist at Wakefern. These two companies have worked together to deploy OpSense's technology and solutions in Wakefern locations. If you're not familiar with Wakefern, they are a large retail-owned cooperative in the U.S. comprising of lots of different companies such as ShopRite, who many of you may have heard of, PriceRite Marketplace, Fresh Grocer, and others. So what we do on this episode is we talk about the solution, how it works, what the implementation was like, what was life at Wakefern like before and after adoption of this IoT solution, and how it's how it's getting used in the real world by end users, just to show you more about the power of IoT and what it can do in actual real world settings being used by those on a daily basis. So I think you'll get a lot of value out of it, and I really hope you enjoy this episode of the Showcase series. Welcome, Sean and Stu. Thank you guys both for being here today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a great conversation. I wanted to kick it off by having you both quickly introduce yourself. We'll start with Stu and then pass it over to Sean. Just give a quick background, kind of information about who the audience is listening to.
Sure. My name's Stu Gavurin. I'm the CEO and founder of OpSense. It's a software platform that we'll probably be discussing later that leverages IoT technology. Happy to talk about it later.
Sounds good. Sean?
I work for Wakefern Food Corporation. I'm a food safety and quality specialist. Wakefern is the parent company of the ShopRite brand stores, which is a retail grocer in the Northeast. We have about 400 grocery stores under the ShopRite label and several other banners from Virginia all the way up to about New Hampshire.
Fantastic. So Stu, let me kick it off with you talking about things from the OpSense point of view here. Just for our audience's sake, this episode is really focused on talking about an actual solution of IoT technology deployed in the real world within a real application. So that's why both of you are kind of here, talk about it from the company side of the development of the solution, and then the application side with Sean. So Stu, let me pass it over to you and just tell us a little bit at a high level, kind of what the solution is that you offer, what OpSense does, just to kind of start there from kind of the story standpoint.
Sure. OpSense is actually a software platform that leverages sensors and other IoT infrastructure in order to provide really domain-specific operational support to food services businesses so that they can make sure that their food and their inventory and their equipment is okay or not okay. It broadly started with work a sister company of mine worked on for a much larger grocery food services chain that was incredibly bespoke. And then I realized that the rest of the industry could leverage, if you took a software view of the world as opposed to a hardware view and really built in the processes that are needed by people like Sean and others, that there could be some value in gathering the information and then turning it into really an operational perspective. That is, telling them things are okay or not okay, and if things are not okay, what they should do about it.
And when it comes to the development of the solution, are you all handling all the different components of the deployment, or are there different pieces that you kind of specialize in and maybe partner with others?
So 80% of what we do is on the software side and making the business process transformation. We have hardware partners that we make sure integrate well into our solution and make sure that they work well in environments such as Sean's, which can be pretty rough, but really that's how we work.
Fantastic. And if we talk about the specific deployment as it relates to Sean's side of things, take us through from OpSense's standpoint of kind of how the process went from the ideation, probably initial conversation, through deployment. What does that look like? I think it'd be a good sense to give our audience a good sense of kind of how these things kind of come to life.
So, and I look forward to Sean's view of the world since we work together. But broadly, when you're bringing an IoT solution to market, you have to look for people who are interested in early adopters. And a lot of companies, including Wakefern, in which we are working in some very large distribution centers, we spoke first with their innovation group, which is, I think, evangelizes new concepts and new technologies. And from there, they served as sort of a stakeholder and champion and went to parts of their business to find out who would who it could provide the highest value to in early adoption. But for those who are sort of pushing these sorts of solutions, understand that it takes, months, if not, a year,
Sure.
for that to go through it. And just to finish up, the only way to prove yourself out is to spend some time in some pilot situation in which the value is quickly seen, and then from there, grow to the full solution.
Absolutely.
Hopefully that answers your question.
Oh, it absolutely does. Yeah, and Sean, so I'd love to hear from your end what it was like as a company to kind of go through the process of deciding how to kind of settle on a problem to solve, and then how you kind of came to the conclusion that IoT technology was what would help solve it. So kind of the before adoption kind of view of things.
Well, before adoption, everything was just very kind of archaic and manual. Um, a lot of handheld thermometers, a lot of going down and standing in refrigerators and taking temperatures and writing them down on your hand or on a piece of paper or anywhere you could until you got back to your office and you were able to input them in an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. So yeah, I was looking for a solution. And like Stuart mentioned, we have an innovation team here at Wakefern that keeps their ear on the ground looking for potential solutions. And they were actually the ones who brought it to me. I had been in talks with a couple of other businesses that weren't quite what I was looking for. And then our team brought us OpSense, and they checked many of the boxes of what I was looking for in the technology, and really answered a lot of the questions that I had, and really brought exactly what I was looking for.
Fantastic. So take us through exactly what the problem was that you are looking to solve, and then to describe what the application side was once you started working with OpSense to start solving the problem, and just to kind of paint the full picture of for those who may be looking to better understand exactly what they kind of came in to help you do.
Sure, yeah. So I oversee our distribution centers here in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So I oversee 8 different distribution centers. 4 of them are perishable facilities. So I was looking for a way to really just be able to manage all of the facilities from wherever I happen to be working from at that day, whether it's my office, my home, my car, some way to be able to have direct, real-time oversight on the temperatures of our facility. That's really, with what I do, the most important thing is time and temperature. To have some sort of technology to allow me to, look at any of our facilities, any of our different zones, and know exactly what the temperature is right now, what the temperature's been for the last 24, 48 hours, however long time period I'm looking for. So that was really the motivation in trying to find something to do that for me.
And take us through the kind of the adoption phase of that. So you all started working together. What did it look like once you started to deploy? Like, take us through maybe what a pilot kind of looks like, how that process works through kind of getting to scale. I think it paints a good picture for our audience to kind of see how this deployment rolled out, so that they can get a sense of, if they're looking to adopt something similar, they know what to expect.
Sure, yeah. So, Stuart and Rob and Carson came out to New Jersey and met us at our flagship perishable facility in Edison, New Jersey, which is where we have our dairy and deli items, eggs, deli meats, things like
Sure.
that. 700,000 square foot facility. So they met me out there. We took a walk and, took a tour of the building, gave them an idea of exactly what our processes are like, what information we wanted, what ideas we had, and what possible, opportunities we may potentially be able to discover. So we took a tour of each of our perishables facilities together. They gave me an idea of what it would look like to map each of the facilities. Each of our facility has about 45-foot ceilings with multiple levels of storage racking, up to 3 and 4 racks. So they gave me an idea of what it would look like to map each of these facilities with their sensors. So we've got sensors set in the front, the middle, and the back of different aisles throughout the building, and then on the top and bottom. So we've got literally the entire building mapped. We've got different zones mapped out in each facility. They worked with me hand in hand. They were down on the floor in the 35-degree refrigerator with me for
Nice.
hours a day, installing the sensors. And really these guys were hands-on the entire time.
Fantastic.
Building the dashboard, mapping
Yep.
the facilities, and really customizing it, which is my favorite part about it, is
Sure.
just how customizable it's been, and really just how easy it's made my life.
Yeah.
So Ryan, I'm going to just jump in and explain that one of the reasons software-based helps is when we've started our pilot, which was, in that first facility, we actually were trying to figure out which of our sensor partners to use because of its height, width, depth, conditions with, just concrete walls, et cetera. So part of the pilot was to prove out the right hardware for that condition than, let's say, what you might use in a grocery store or somewhere else. So that was the first phase of it. And I think once we proved that out, Sean Green lighted
Sure.
us to grow from there.
And Stu, let me ask you, for those out there listening who may feel like there's pieces of this that fit for what they're looking for, what advice do you have for them on how to best start the process of thinking about this, planning on this? And Sean, maybe you can jump in too after the fact and kind of give your thoughts on what your team did to help get yourself prepared for an undertaking like this, to have and potentially the buy-in internally, just to set yourself up for success and not necessarily start the conversation and have to kind of stop because you don't have maybe certain information sorted out, you don't have buy-in internally, those kinds of things. What's important for people to be thinking about, Stu?
Well, I wish many of them were like Sean, which is sort of a crawl, walk, run. Everybody can roll their eyes at that. But although you're talking about temperature right now, mainly, Sean, the idea is people are overwhelmed with the vision of what they can sense and what they can bring in and what they can see on a dashboard. And my first advice would be, what will make an impact to your operation tomorrow? Is it a matter of removing something manual? Is it a matter of finding information from a hard place? Is it, that consolidation of data that you need? Or is it just telling people we've got a problem, you need to go there? But simplify the problem down to, what makes the impact tomorrow? Because a lot of people go to consultants and others or other competitors, and it's a boil the ocean kind of thing. And success comes at knowing the core of your business, just like Sean did, saying, if I get this value, I get my ROI, and then we can go from there. So I felt that was great. We didn't start with technology. We didn't talk about, the software or the hardware. We talked about, can you make this one simple thing in my life easier? So it was a great start.
Fantastic. Yeah, Sean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, really just to echo that. I mean, that's exactly what I was looking for. In everything that I do, I'm trying to find the most efficient way to do it in the least amount of steps possible. So, yeah, I think, from our initial conversations, I remember them asking me that question. And, really that was the answer. Was I was looking to eliminate manual processes. I was looking to eliminate the need to have to send human beings into a refrigerator 12 times a day to take a manual temperature. I mean, that was really, my initial goal, because when you're talking about ROI and other goals, especially in our type of business where, there's an executive hierarchy, and there's a lot of red tape and a lot of hoops to jump through, especially when you're talking about adding a cost that doesn't necessarily deliver a dollar value return on investment, like Stuart said, the next day. So I had to find ways to prove that. And the first thing, was simply that, look, we have, employees that we are paying to walk into a refrigerator to take a temperature and write it down on a sheet of paper. And I wanted to eliminate that need. And, so I think that was really, the beginning.
Okay, great. And tell me about a kind of life after adoption. What's it been like? Kind of what's the ROI kind of look like? Just to kind of give our audience that side of things too.
Oh man, it's just been a game changer all across the board. I mean, we deal with so many issues regarding, temperature and food quality that, it's just been so handy, for so many things, potential product issues, where, we had an issue with a product and needed to return it to a vendor, and them asking us to be able to prove our cold chain. And for me to be able to just open up the dashboard, run a device comparison, hit print screen, and send that to them just like that. I mean, it's so easy and so simple. And, a big part of what I do is our auditing process, and, with regulatory audits and third-party auditors, to be able to just have that ability to just pop my computer or my phone,
Right.
Show temperature readings and comparisons. And, I've only been talking about the temperature, but, Stuart's software has checklisting options, reporting options. And I mean, literally, I could probably just go on here and tell you, all these little things that it's done for me and take up the
Right.
entire interview talking about that.
So Ryan, I do want to jump in because I think there's one ROI that I did not
Okay.
expect. So certainly
Sure.
I expect, that there is, inventory saves, there's compliance needs, et cetera. But Wakefern is a large corporation. They have a lot of capital expenditures. And I think, what I've heard from you, Sean, is you looked at, the data we got from all the microclimates and everywhere else, and you looked at a capital expense for maybe redesigning some of the actual, air treatment infrastructure.
No, yeah, absolutely.
In one of your centers based on the data of OpSense, which is sort of a bigger picture ROI that I had never envisioned.
Yeah, based on the discoveries that we made within the first year, we have launched a major reconfiguration project in both of our produce warehouses, a multi-million-dollar project where we're reinforcing our cold chain throughout both buildings. And, that was because we had this type of oversight on our temperatures, and we're able to see that, during the summer months, we have problems holding temperatures on our docks. During the winter months, actually, our docks might get a little bit too cold. Yeah, so right now, on our dock, we're building walls, we're installing refrigeration, and really dumping a lot of money and investment into ensuring our cold chain, which was really discovered because of the real-time monitoring.
Fantastic. And last thing I have to ask you before I let you go is for audience who wants to learn more, and this is probably more for Stu, learn more about kind of what OpSense does, how these solutions work, the capabilities and different things that could be done, and how this may apply to their business. What's the best way that they can do this to kind of follow up, stay in touch, learn more?
Sure. So there, of course, I'd love to have a phone call because there's nothing like sort of the personal discussion, which you can find on our website. But if you go to opsense.com, that will be a first place to go, because if you go in there, the case studies are there.
Okay.
You can download, even Wakefern here has a case study, but you can see sort of the spectrum of it. It's less of a marketing website than it is an informational website about how people have used it and how they started. I would also say, as much as people push social media, our marketing group does a good job of connecting OpSense to other problems on Twitter and in LinkedIn. So I would go there as well and just follow OpSense IoT on Twitter and LinkedIn, and you'll find some interesting information there as well. But of course, you can find our number and write us.
Fantastic. Well, both of you, thank you so much for your time. This has been a kind of great conversation. We actually haven't done this in a really long time, having both sides of the solution on here, the customer and the creator of it. So, thank you both so much for taking the time to kind of shed light on this. I think our audience will get a ton of value out of it, and really appreciate it.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Thank you for doing what you do. I mean, this is important for us to get it out there. It's sort of a no fluff thing, so we appreciate it, Ryan. And Sean, as always, it's great to see you and talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. You too, Stu. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you both. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that episode of the IoT Solution video series from us at IoT for All. If you did, we'd really appreciate it if you would like this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. If you have a potential solution or something in the space that you would love to showcase to our audience, please email me directly at ryan@iotforall.com. I'd be happy to discuss what it is that you have going on and find ways to get that out to our audience. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time.